Have you ever met someone whose presence alone feels like a storm cloud settling over your life? Someone who twists your emotions without saying much, leaving behind confusion, self-doubt, or even emotional chaos? Evil isn't just found in ancient myths or Hollywood villains. It walks quietly among us, often disguised as charm, concern, or help. The unsettling truth is, evil doesn't wear a costume. It doesn't announce itself with horns or red flags. It often moves in shadows, slipping into our lives through subtle gestures and calculated words. But here's the good news. With a little awareness and a bit of wisdom passed down from ancient Stoics, you can begin to recognize these behaviors for what they are. As Marcus Aurelius once said, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If you let the wrong people paint your reality, you risk seeing the world through their deception. In this video, we're going to break down 10 undeniable signs that you're dealing with an evil person, clear markers you simply can't ignore. These insights, rooted in Stoic wisdom, will help you guard your peace and protect your mental clarity. Let's begin with the first and most insidious sign: constant manipulation. Seneca once warned, "He who has many fears has many things to be manipulated." That wasn't just philosophy, it was a survival guide. Manipulation is a powerful weapon in the hands of malicious people. They don't deal in truth, they deal in illusions, bending reality like a craftsman shaping metal to suit their own needs. Let me share a real story, one that still echoes in my mind. I once worked with a colleague who, at first, seemed like a true supporter. He praised me openly in meetings, complimented my efforts, and made me feel seen and appreciated. I thought I had found a teammate I could trust, but slowly, things changed. Behind my back, he began distorting facts, subtly, carefully. A missed deadline here became a dramatic failure. A small oversight there was blown out of proportion. To management, he presented these moments as patterns of concern, all while smiling kindly to my face. When I finally confronted him, his reply was calm and composed. "I'm only trying to help you improve." And just like that, doubt crept in. Was I truly falling short? Had I been blind to my own flaws? This is the power of manipulation. It doesn't just shake your reality. It shakes your sense of self. Manipulators don't seek connection. They seek control. They identify your insecurities, then position themselves as the only one who understands you, the only one who can guide you. What they're really doing is building a cage and calling it safety. Stoic philosophy teaches us something critical here. The path to freedom begins with self-mastery. A genuinely virtuous person will never make you dependent on them. Instead, they empower your independence. If someone continually pressures you to follow their lead, dismisses your opinions, or chips away at your autonomy, it's a glaring warning sign. As Epictetus once declared, "No man is free who is not master of himself." You don't need to fight manipulators with loud arguments or dramatic exits. Sometimes the most powerful act is silent withdrawal. Step away, reclaim your clarity, reclaim your freedom. Remember, mental clarity and self-awareness are your shields. You don't owe anyone your peace. You don't need to be understood to be free. You simply need to be aware and brave enough to walk away. Number 2, a mask of charm. Epictetus once reminded us, appearances, no matter how dazzling, often hide the truth beneath. And isn't that something we've all experienced? Have you ever met someone so effortlessly charming, so perfectly polished, that they felt like a character straight out of a romantic film or a best-selling novel? Their smile was radiant. Their words were smooth, almost poetic. They knew exactly what to say to make you feel seen, understood, even adored. Every gesture felt thoughtful, every glance intentional. But if you stepped back for a moment and took a closer look, the illusion began to flicker. Charm, when rooted in sincerity, is beautiful. It builds bridges between people, nurtures trust, and deepens bonds. But in the hands of someone with selfish or manipulative intentions, charm becomes a mask, one designed not to connect, but to conceal. These people know how to gain your trust quickly, how to make you lower your guard with just the right words. They present themselves as the ideal friend, partner, or mentor, but behind their glittering smile often hides a cold, calculating agenda. Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And those who wear charm as a disguise often dye their actions in deception. They don't just manipulate, they seduce with false sincerity. I once knew someone who fit this description perfectly. He had a way of making people feel uniquely valued, showering them with praise and warmth. For a time, I believed he genuinely cared about others. But eventually I noticed a disturbing pattern. His compliments came only when he needed something: favor, status, influence. And the moment someone had nothing more to offer, he distanced himself. Sometimes he even spoke poorly about those same people behind their backs. The truth was, his kindness was conditional, his charm a tool. So how do you break free from such an enchantment? Start by listening to your instincts. If someone's charm feels overly rehearsed, or if you're dazzled yet uneasy, don't dismiss that inner warning. Stoic wisdom teaches that truth needs no costume. Authentic goodness doesn't sparkle with pretense. It glows quietly, even when no one's watching. Observe how they treat those who have nothing to offer. That's where true character shows itself. Charm can be a mirror or a mask. The question is, what does it reflect? Number 3, lies without conscience. Marcus Aurelius once offered a simple but profound rule for living. Nothing should be done if it isn't right, and nothing should be said if it isn't true. For people of integrity, this is a compass. But for the truly malicious, truth is just a barrier, something to be bent, broken, or buried. These individuals don't lie by accident. Lying is a lifestyle. Their deceit is not careless, it's calculated. They weave falsehoods as a way to gain control, evade consequences, or manipulate your perception of events. Their words serve a purpose: to rewrite reality in their favor. I once knew someone like this. She had a way of spinning stories so compelling, so confident that you couldn't help but believe her. One time she claimed she had managed an entire critical project on her own, taking full credit for its success. At first I admired her determination, but when I reviewed the details, emails, reports, team contributions, it was clear that much of what she said wasn't true. And when I brought it up gently, hoping for honesty, she didn't apologize. Instead, she twisted the narrative, saying, "I must have misunderstood," and quickly shifted the topic to something else entirely. That's how manipulators operate. They don't just lie, they make you question your own reality. They plant seeds of doubt in your mind until you're no longer sure what's true and what's not. They weaponize confusion and use it to control you. But the truth is resilient. Unlike lies, it doesn't need defending or constant repair. Lies, however, are fragile, easily shattered under the weight of scrutiny. To protect yourself, watch closely for inconsistencies. Do their stories change when challenged? Do their actions reflect their words? Stoic philosophy teaches us that actions, not words, reveal character. If someone's behavior doesn't align with what they say, believe the behavior. Ask questions, seek clarity. And when lies become a pattern, don't hesitate to set boundaries. Honesty is the foundation of trust. Without it, even the most convincing relationships collapse into emptiness. Ultimately, as Stoics remind us, real strength lies in our ability to master ourselves and in walking away from anything that violates our peace or our values. If someone consistently distorts the truth, the greatest act of power is to see it clearly, respond with calm, and choose not to engage further in their web of deceit. Number 4, a lack of empathy. Seneca once observed that we are born for cooperation, like feet, like hands, like eyelids. In other words, human beings are social creatures. We're not meant to live only for ourselves. At the heart of this connection lies one essential trait: empathy. It's what allows us to step into each other's shoes, to feel joy when others celebrate, and to offer comfort in times of sorrow. But for those with truly malicious intent, empathy is either absent or worse, weaponized. To them, other people are not fellow souls to connect with. They're simply tools, pawns to be moved for personal gain. Have you ever sat across from someone you trusted and opened up about something deeply painful? Perhaps you finally gathered the courage to share a burden that had been silently weighing on you. But instead of receiving understanding or support, you were met with a cold, dismissive remark. "Oh, that's nothing. You think you've got it bad? Let me tell you about my day." That wasn't just a bad moment, it was a pattern. These individuals show a consistent inability, or worse, an unwillingness, to step outside of themselves and connect with your pain. Their emotional detachment reveals itself in a chilling way, through indifference, or even a quiet pleasure at your suffering. Empathy isn't a luxury, it's not a personality bonus. It's the cornerstone of any meaningful relationship. Without it, every interaction becomes one-sided, draining, and transactional. A lack of empathy isn't just a character flaw, it's a flashing warning sign of a hollow soul. Some of the most manipulative people know how to fake compassion when it's useful. They mimic concern, echo comforting words, or offer help, but only when there's something in it for them. The moment they no longer benefit from the act, their true colors emerge. Marcus Aurelius offered timeless guidance. Stop arguing about what a good man should be one. True goodness isn't loud or boastful. It doesn't need to be proven. It's quietly consistent, especially when no one is watching. So what can you do when you're faced with someone who lacks empathy? First, protect your peace. Set clear and firm boundaries. Don't allow their emotional coldness to distort your own sense of worth. Surround yourself with people who don't just listen to your joys and pains, but genuinely feel them. Build relationships rooted in mutual care, ones that uplift, not diminish you. Before we move on to the next sign, if you're finding this content valuable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And if this message resonates with you, drop a comment below. I see the signs. Let's grow this community of clarity and strength together. Number 5, the hunger for control. For someone with malicious intent, control isn't just a preference, it's their lifeline. They aren't content with influencing decisions or offering input. No, they want to dominate everything. Your relationships, your thoughts, even the tiniest choices you make. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. But this strength, the ability to govern your own thoughts, is exactly what the controlling person wants to take away from you. Because if they can influence your mind, they can rule your entire life. I once knew someone who seemed trustworthy at first. They gave thoughtful advice, seemed genuinely invested in my growth. But slowly their true aim began to surface. They started planting subtle doubts, questioning my decisions, highlighting flaws in my reasoning, gently suggesting that maybe I wasn't quite capable. Once, when I had the opportunity to join an exciting new project, they convinced me I wasn't ready. They urged me to step back and let them lead. At the time, it felt like wisdom. In hindsight, it was manipulation. What they really wanted wasn't to help me grow. It was to keep me small, dependent within their control. People like this don't just want influence. They want authority over your inner world. They'll use guilt, flattery, even shame to get it. And over time, their presence begins to feel like a shadow over your decisions. You stop trusting yourself. You start shrinking. And slowly, your sense of autonomy begins to erode. But here's the Stoic truth. Freedom is the only worthy goal in life, as Epictetus so clearly put it. And true freedom begins not in the outer world, but within. It starts with the refusal to surrender your mind to someone else's grip. Malicious people know this, which is why they work so hard to blur your clarity. But you have the right and the power to say no. Ask yourself, does this relationship align with my values? Let that question be your compass. You don't owe anyone control over your life. Autonomy is the most sacred power you hold. And it's not for sale, not for comfort, and certainly not for fear. As Marcus Aurelius wisely wrote, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. So guard your mind. Guard your peace. Let no one rewrite your truth or diminish your worth. Those who truly care for you will never try to cage your freedom. Instead, they'll support your growth, even when it means letting you fly. Stand firm, hold your ground, and let your own mind lead you to the freedom you've always deserved. Number 6, blame games and deflection. Seneca once said, people prefer to trust appearances rather than exercise judgment. And manipulators know this all too well. They use your goodwill, your empathy, and your natural desire to avoid conflict as tools to shift blame away from themselves and onto you. Instead of owning their mistakes, they rewrite the narrative. In every story they tell, they're the victim, never the cause of the problem. Blaming others is not just their habit, it's their shield. And deflection, that's their weapon of choice. Let me give you an example. I once collaborated on an important project with someone I considered a close friend. Things didn't go as planned, mistakes happened, deadlines slipped. But instead of admitting her oversights, she began to subtly critique my organizational choices. It wasn't direct or aggressive. No, it came under the soft veil of constructive feedback. Maybe if you'd structured it this way, she would say with a concerned look. At first, I took it seriously. I questioned myself, wondered if I was the one who caused the setbacks. But after several similar experiences, the pattern became undeniable. Every time something went wrong, I was the scapegoat. This is how blame shifters operate. They excel at making you second-guess your actions, your memory, even your worth. They manipulate your emotions, making you feel guilty for things they cause. And they rely on your trust, on your compassion, to make their stories stick. Marcus Aurelius offered a simple but powerful truth. The truth stands on its own. It doesn't need theatrics. It doesn't need to be dressed in excuses or wrapped in guilt. Truth is solid, unshakable. So how do you protect yourself? Stay grounded in facts. When someone tries to rewrite reality, step back and assess the situation objectively. Don't let their tone or tactics cloud your reason. Ask questions, demand clarity, calmly but firmly, and most importantly, don't engage in their games. Set boundaries. Make it clear that you will not carry the weight of someone else's irresponsibility. Integrity means taking ownership of your part, not accepting blame for things that aren't yours to carry. When someone repeatedly dodges accountability, they reveal more about their character than any excuse ever could. Protect your peace, stay rooted in truth, and walk away from those who would rather manipulate reality than face it. Number 7, the pleasure of pain. Now this one is chilling and harder to accept because we often don't want to believe people like this exist. One of the most disturbing traits of a truly malicious individual is their subtle or sometimes open enjoyment of other people's suffering. Epictetus wisely taught, associate with those who make you better. But individuals like this have no interest in growth, neither for themselves nor for you. What they crave is dominance. And instead of lifting themselves through merit or effort, they feel powerful only when others are down. At first, it's easy to dismiss their behavior. Maybe it's a sarcastic comment during someone's bad day, or a smirk when a coworker stumbles. But watch closely. Over time, these moments become a pattern. I once had a friend who, whenever someone failed or made a mistake, would light up, not with sympathy, but with amusement. I remember the day a colleague was harshly criticized in front of others. While most of us cringed or looked away, she chuckled. Not loudly, but enough to notice. At first, I assumed she was just detached. But as it continued, I realized she was quietly feeding off others' humiliation. Why? Because in that moment, she felt superior. Seneca once said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity." But for people like this, Adversity is not a challenge to grow from. It's a chance to feel better by comparison. They use gossip, sabotage, or subtle cruelty to feel important. And beneath it all lies a fragile ego that needs others to fall so it can pretend to rise. Their joy doesn't come from accomplishments. It comes from destruction. So what do you do when faced with someone like this? You distance yourself. You recognize the signs, mocking others, laughing at pain, fixating on failure. And you understand that these aren't harmless quirks. They're symptoms of a deeper toxicity. The longer you stay around them, the more you'll find your own energy drained, your self-worth chipped away. Stoic philosophy urges us to protect our peace and choose relationships that nourish, not poison. True strength is not about who we can crush. It's about who we can uplift and who uplifts us in return. So walk away from those who find pleasure in your pain. Surround yourself with those who celebrate your progress, who stand with you in setbacks, and who genuinely want to see you thrive. Because real joy, the kind that lasts, is never built on someone else's suffering. It's built on shared success, mutual respect, and genuine connection. Number 8, isolation as a weapon. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Human beings are meant to live for one another." Our strength, he believed, lies not in solitude, but in connection, in shared experiences, in encouragement, and in the support of those who truly care for us. But for a malicious person, this truth becomes their target. Why? Because they know something dangerous. If they can cut you off from your circle, your family, your friends, your community, they can begin to shape your reality. One of their most powerful tools isn't shouting or control through force, it's isolation. Quiet, calculated, and deeply corrosive. I once had a friend who, in the beginning, appeared incredibly kind and attentive. She seemed to care about my well-being, asking thoughtful questions and listening intently. But slowly she began to make small, unsettling remarks. "Your best friend doesn't really understand you the way I do," she would say, gently but with purpose. "I don't think your family supports you as much as they should." At first I brushed it off. I assumed she was just trying to protect me. But over time, her words started to plant doubts. Doubts that grew like cracks in the foundation of my most trusted relationships. Eventually, I found myself pulling away from the very people who had always been there for me. This wasn't a coincidence, it was a strategy. These people isolate you not by force, but by eroding your trust in others. They create distance with whispers and half-truths until you feel like they're the only one who gets you. And once you're alone, once your emotional defenses are gone, they become the loudest voice in your life. But here's what they don't want you to remember. Your real strength is rooted in connection, in friends who speak truth with love, in family who sees you fully, in the quiet stability of a support system that doesn't seek to control, but to uplift. So if you find yourself feeling increasingly detached from your loved ones, pause, reflect. Ask yourself, who is drawing lines between me and the people I care about? Then trust your instincts, reconnect. Talk to those who have walked beside you through storms and sunshine alike. You'll find that the love and support you need is still there, waiting. Stoic philosophy reminds us that we are not meant to be islands. We are part of something larger, and our community, our tribe, is our strength. Guard those connections, protect them like gold, because in true unity lies unshakable resilience, and no manipulator can stand against that. Number 9, jealousy in disguise. Envy, when it hides behind a smile, is one of the most dangerous forms of deception. Seneca once warned us that envy is the ulcer of the soul. It eats away from the inside. But when envy wears a mask, when it comes disguised as support or advice, it becomes even more insidious. And it's often those closest to us who deliver it. Have you ever received a compliment that didn't quite feel whole? I remember completing a big project I had poured my heart into. I was proud, truly proud. A friend congratulated me and then added, That's great, but maybe next time push yourself a bit harder so it's more impressive. At first, I took it as helpful feedback, but something about her tone made me uneasy. It wasn't about helping me grow, it was about shrinking my achievement. Her words weren't meant to uplift, they were meant to undermine. This is how envy operates. A jealous person won't attack you directly. They'll use half-praise, backhanded comments, or helpful suggestions to make you question your worth. You did well, but don't get too excited. There's always someone better. Nice job, but did you hear what so-and-so did? That was even more impressive. They plant seeds of self-doubt, hoping you'll start to believe that your success isn't enough or that you don't deserve it. Why do they do this? Because your light threatens their shadow. Your growth exposes their stagnation. And instead of rising themselves, they'd rather see you shrink. It's not about what you've achieved, it's about how it makes them feel about what they haven't. But Stoicism teaches us a powerful defense: discernment. Trust your inner compass. If someone's praise feels hollow or loaded, pay attention. Look beyond their words to their intention. A truly supportive person will celebrate your victories with full heart. They won't use compliments as cloaked criticisms. They'll cheer for you, challenge you, and walk beside you with honest encouragement, not envy in disguise. To protect yourself, draw boundaries. Be kind, but clear. Don't let their insecurity become your burden. Don't shrink to protect their ego. As Marcus Aurelius reminded us, the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts, so protect your mind. Surround yourself with those who genuinely wish to see you rise and who help you reach even greater heights. And above all, never dim your light to make others feel more comfortable. Your shine is not arrogance. It's a reflection of your hard work, your growth, and your truth. Let it glow. Number 10, the unrepentant heart. One of the most unmistakable signs that you're dealing with a truly destructive person is this: an unrepentant heart. Marcus Aurelius once urged us to stop wasting time debating what a good person should be and instead be one. But those with a corrupted character do just the opposite. They don't strive to improve, they don't admit their wrongs, and they certainly don't try to heal the harm they've caused. Instead, they double down on destructive behaviors and build a fortress of denial around themselves. These individuals never say, "I was wrong." Instead, they say, "It's not my fault," or "You're too sensitive," or "You misunderstood me." Think back to someone you may have encountered like this. Maybe they always had an excuse, always someone else to blame. When they hurt others, they didn't express regret. They justified. They redirected. They twisted the story so that they never had to confront their own responsibility. And when someone gently tried to hold them accountable, they didn't reflect. They didn't apologize. They attacked. They gaslit. They made the person feel like the problem, turning the tables so quickly it left everyone confused. But the most dangerous part? Their complete refusal to change. They see humility as weakness. They view growth as unnecessary. In their world, stubbornness is strength and arrogance is armor. This attitude stands in direct opposition to Stoic wisdom, because Stoicism isn't about pretending to be perfect. It's about the ongoing commitment to be better. A true Stoic understands that acknowledging our flaws and taking ownership of our actions is not a sign of weakness, but a profound act of strength, courage, and self-respect. When someone repeatedly justifies their harmful actions, when they consistently avoid accountability and refuse to make amends, they're not just hurting others, they're rejecting their own opportunity for transformation. They're choosing stagnation over evolution. So what can you do if you find yourself close to someone like this, someone who constantly evades responsibility and never takes steps toward genuine change? Pause and reflect. Not everyone is willing to grow. Not everyone wants to be better. And that's a painful truth we must learn to accept. But your job is not to fix them. Your job is to protect your peace. Invest your energy in people who are honest with themselves. People who have the courage to say, "I made a mistake," and the strength to make it right. Marcus Aurelius reminded us to focus your mind on thoughts and people who elevate the quality of your life. That's the Stoic path. Not judgment, but discernment. Choosing wisely where your energy flows and who you walk this life with. So there you have it. We've now walked through 10 unmistakable signs that you might be dealing with an evil person. It's unsettling, isn't it? But remember, knowledge is protection. Awareness is power. Evil thrives in the shadows, through manipulation, deceit, and confusion. But once you begin to recognize the signs, the illusion breaks. You no longer fall for their tricks. You reclaim your peace. You reclaim your clarity. Marcus Aurelius taught us that real strength lies not in controlling others, but in mastering ourselves. And that includes the strength to walk away from toxic people, to set boundaries with grace, and to protect the serenity of your inner world. Don't let anyone manipulate your mind or steal your calm. Stand your ground, guard your thoughts, and most of all, keep shining. Because in the end, your light, the integrity, clarity, and resilience you cultivate is exactly what they fear the most. If this video helped you spot the warning signs, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below with, "I see the signs." Let others know you're no longer blind to manipulation. Thank you for watching. Stay strong, stay wise, and I'll see you in the next video where your journey of Stoic growth will continue to deepen.